Today's video is all about make-ahead turkey gravy, and what I mean by make-ahead turkey gravy is that this gravy can be made and stored in the freezer for up to 3 months. What an awesome idea! One less thing to worry about in the kitchen on Thanksgiving Day. I have a lot of great information to share with you. Let's get started. First things first, we're going to make a turkey stock from scratch. We're going to start off with the veggies. We need celery, carrots, an onion, and garlic. I've got 3 stalks of celery. We're going to use the whole thing, leaves and all, minus the white bottom. I've already discarded that part. We're just going to give it a rough chop, nothing fancy. Same for our carrots. Discard the ends, give them the old chop chop. We also need 1 whole yellow onion, also giving it a rough chop. As for our garlic and how much you should use, I'm going with 6 cloves of garlic because I love this stuff. I would use no less than 3. All we're going to do is smash our peeled garlic. That's it, nothing fancy. To a large pot or a Dutch oven like this one, we're going to add in 2 turkey wings and 2 neck bones. You can find these at your local Walmart. There's a small turkey section near the ground beef where you'll find these items. If you can only find 1, that's fine too. Turkey necks or wings, whichever one you find will work. Add in all of the vegetables we just chopped. The great thing about making this gravy ahead of time is when you go to make your actual turkey on Thanksgiving Day, you'll have another neck to save for later to make more gravy. Alright, this looks good. We're gonna stick this uncovered, middle rack, no liquids in our preheated oven at 375 degrees for 2 hours. The best part, your home is gonna smell amazing for the rest of the day. And here's what 2 hours in the oven looks like. Now we're ready to add in our liquids. We need 6 cups of water. If you want to go all out, use chicken broth, but I'm sticking with water today. Once you've added in all 6 cups, you might want to move things around just a bit to loosen things up. There's a good chance the necks and wings are a little stuck to the bottom of the pot. No big deal. We're going to let this cook some more on the stovetop over medium-high heat or until it boils. Then we're going to reduce the heat and let it simmer for 45 minutes. You won't need to baby this at all once it starts simmering, but just before you walk away, add in a good sprinkling of black pepper and salt. I also had some extra fresh rosemary leaves, so I'm going to add that to the pot as well. Now this is not a make or break step. Like I said, I had some extra on hand, so I'm tossing it in. Later on, we're going to add in poultry seasoning to the gravy, and I'm pretty sure rosemary is an ingredient listed in it. So don't worry, you're not missing out if you don't have any fresh on hand. After about 45 minutes of simmering fun, we're going to remove the wings and necks. Set those off to the side, don't toss them just yet. Once all of the meat is out of the pot, grab your potato masher and start mashing. We are going to end up straining this, but for now, we're going to break up the vegetables so when we do go to strain it, we can really squeeze out every last drop of flavor in the vegetables. As for the meat we just removed, we're going to remove some of the meat and use it in the gravy. Now, there's not a whole lot of meat on the turkey neck. One would think it's a huge waste of time if you're picking it off by hand, and you would be correct. That's why I find it's easier to use a fork. Pretend you're shredding up a piece of chicken and just go to town on it. This method may not pull all of the meat off, but it sure helps make it easier to go back in with your hands and just rip off the shredded pieces. As for the wings, that's up to you if you want to use that meat or not for the gravy. I find that the neck has just the right amount of meat for the gravy. All we're going to do is finely mince up as much of it as you can. The tinier, the better. And of course, adding this part of the bird to the gravy is 100% personal preference. Not everybody is a fan of going any further with the necks than we've already gone, or even adding any meat to the gravy. If that's not your thing, that's totally fine, just skip over this part. Now that our meat has been finely chopped up, we're going to finish up with the stock. Make sure you have a large enough bowl, grab a strainer, and carefully pour in your stock. You might have to do this in batches because we're going to grab a spoon and press down on our veggies. We want all of that liquid, every bit of that delicious stuff. Do this until your pot is empty. My strainer is kind of on the smaller side, so I had to do this 3 times. As you can see here, there's not a whole lot of fat to be spooned off the top of the stock. If this stock was from a whole turkey, chances are you used butter. Then you might want to spoon off as much fat as you can from that. But we don't seem to have that problem here, so now comes the fun part, making the gravy. To a large pan over medium heat, we need 5 tablespoons of butter. Now that may seem like a lot, but we're making a ton of gravy. What we're doing right now is making a roux. A roux is a mixture of equal parts flour and fat. Cooked together, it makes a thickening agent, which is what we need to make our gravy nice and thick, because nobody wants watery gravy. Once our butter has melted, add in 1/3 of a cup of flour. The raw flour taste needs to cook out before we add in any liquids. How long is long enough? Here's a neat trick. Give it a good sniff, and if it smells like warm pie dough, you're ready to add in your liquids. Now, here's where I got overly excited and just dumped in all of the stock into the roux. Don't do that. I did luck out and everything turned out fine in the end, but normally you would want to gradually add in your liquids to your roux. And by gradually, I mean 1 full cup at a time, mixing between each addition. As you can see here, I had lumps to deal with, but as I said, I got lucky and everything turned out fine. At this point, you've gone as far as you need to go if you're planning on freezing your gravy. Obviously, we're going to continue on because I need this gravy gravy for another video, so we need to complete it. When it comes to gravy, I like to add in a splash of heavy cream. This just makes it richer and, in my opinion, more flavorful. But if you're planning on freezing this gravy for later use, you do not want to add any cream to it or milk because it'll separate later after it's thawed and do unfun things. You'll cry, and somewhere in the world I'll randomly cry for you. It'll be a sad time. Don't do it. So don't add in any cream or milk if you're planning on freezing it. Afterwards, you totally can. When you're reheating it on the stove, yes, pick up right here where you left off. And be sure to subscribe so you can easily find me when you're ready to jump to the next step. Now to our gravy. Just like with all things, we need to season this bad boy. This is obviously specific to your taste, but I like to add in a little bit more black pepper and salt. Be sure to taste it first before you add in any extra salt, as it might already be salty enough. Now, if you don't have any fresh rosemary, here's where you would add in poultry seasoning. If you don't have poultry seasoning, do the walk of shame to the grocery store. Tell your family you'll be back, you done goofed up. The ingredients found in poultry seasoning are thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary, black pepper, nutmeg, all great things for any Thanksgiving gravy. Make sure you sprinkle some of that in. How much you use is entirely up to you. Grab a spoon and taste test. Last but not least, remember the turkey neck meat we chopped up earlier? Yes, add that in. Let everything simmer on low for about 5 minutes and then we're done. I made this on Saturday afternoon so I wouldn't have to make it the next day when I would need it for another video. I took my finished gravy and poured it into a storage container and then waited until it was cool enough to place in the fridge. Okay, we're gonna pretend it's Thanksgiving Day. Time to reheat the gravy. By now, it has solidified in the fridge, as to be expected with any gravy. All you need to do is stick it in a pot on the stove and bring it back to life by simply stirring it. You might be tempted to add liquids to it, but it really shouldn't need it once it's piping hot again. However, there's no gravy rule out there that says you can't add in liquids if you really want to. Also, I will have the directions posted in this video's description box. Here's an ingredients list. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope this tutorial was a blast. I know I had fun. Come back tomorrow as I recently found the best dinner rolls and I can't wait to share them with you. Hands down, I think it's the best. I will never seek out another dinner roll recipe. Yes, it was that amazing. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out, and I'll see you all tomorrow.